This is Heartrepreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart. With your host, Terri Levine. Listen every week as Terri tackles the topics that will help you become a successful heart-centered entrepreneur. Be sure to read the blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog. Come back often and add this show to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/Heartrepreneur Terri Levine. And now here's Terri.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Heartrepreneur Radio and Heartrepreneur TV. This is Terri Levine, and I'm really glad that you keep tuning in, and hopefully you're sharing the show with others as we're creating more and more value on doing business in a non-transactional way, coming from the heart, being of service, and truly making a difference with our products, with our services. So today I have with me Andrew Gardella, and he's a chiropractor. He's also a Wealth Creators Anonymous facilitator, which is a specialty program from Access Consciousness, which we'll definitely talk about today. Andrew graduated from school magna cum laude, wow, with BS's in biology, psychology, cognitive science, and then he received a Doctor of Chiropractic from Palmer College of Chiropractic. Since he was young, he bought items from flea markets and then he sold them to generate more income. We're going to talk about that too. And this has evolved into buying and selling antiques alongside his Access Consciousness network. Andrew realized some years ago that whether you have money or not is a choice, really hear that. And since discovering this, he's never looked back financially. That's going to be a lesson for all of us today. He loves teaching others how they can make the choice to be in better financial situation. And that's why you want to stay tuned. Welcome, Andrew. I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's always fun to talk about money and wealth and things for me.
Well, I'm excited, and I know our viewers and our listeners want more money, more wealth, and they want to do it in an easy, effortless way. You have so many degrees. What kind of led you down this path and the decision to be an Access Consciousness person?
Well, I think like my whole life I was always seeking something, but I just didn't really know what I was seeking, right? And when I was studying in undergrad, I was always fascinated with the weird stuff, like paranormal psychology, or someone has a stroke, but all of a sudden, so they lose their vision, but all of a sudden they can see in vibration or something, like weird stuff that doesn't happen to everyone, but there was these outliers, and that was always something that interested me. So I kind of took all these weird courses. I ended up with 3 majors because I was like, oh, I want to take this. I was really looking into the brain and all, I was fascinated by the nervous system and all of that. And that's also what led me to chiropractic school. And I was in chiropractic school, and I at this point, I have done 4 years of formal education and, chiropractic school. And I'm still I'm missing something, because in chiropractic school, I was always curious about, I was reading a lot of stuff on quantum physics and outlying physics stuff. And they were talking about, when you observe something, it actually starts to change. And there would be scientists that would shoot an electron out, and they would ask it to go left, and it would go left. And they'd ask it to go right, and it would go right. And it was 50-50, but it would always do 100% of what they asked it to do. And I was like, what? And then you have people that I would work on in chiropractic school, and some would get better and some wouldn't, but they would have the same disease. And I was the same person, and I would do the same thing, but someone would show progress and someone wouldn't. And I'm like, this doesn't it didn't sit with me. And I started taking Access Consciousness classes. And one of the first things I heard was, your point of view creates your reality. And I went, okay, this makes sense now. Because, someone who thinks something's impossible, it becomes impossible for them. But someone who else doesn't have that point of view, it's not impossible to them.
Brilliant point.
Yeah.
Let's take just that point for a minute. Your point of view creates your reality. I think that's so key. I want to just stop, pause, and really make sure that our audience takes that in. Your point of view creates your reality. So I just want the audience to notice, where are you? Where are you in your income? Where are you in your relationships? Where are you in your attitude? Every aspect of your life comes from your point of view. Thank you for sharing that important piece. Keep going.
Yeah, and so I think if we want to look at this in like terms of wealth and money, with your point of view creates reality. It's like I was raised in a middle class family, like in Cleveland, Ohio, so very Midwest, middle class. I'm the oldest of 4 children, so growing up, like when we went to restaurants, you didn't get pop, like you didn't get soda, you didn't get juice or anything, you got water. And like, so those are the things. And then like, it was always on a budget, or a tight budget, or you didn't splurge and all these things. And I noticed as I was growing up, and especially as I started actually making more money and working, like I still carried those things with me, those points of views with me. Like, so I was acting as if I didn't have the money, and acting if I couldn't afford these things based on, how I was raised, quote unquote. And, all of a sudden it's really starting to shift, but it's like taken a while to kind of um, you know break those old kind of habits, or the ways like that I've learned to function with money and everything. Like I would, like like I would never, like if I had the choice between a car or walking somewhere, and the walk was 30 minutes or something, I would just leave early and walk, because I didn't have the money when I was younger and stuff. Now I do, so I could take the car, but somewhere in time, like it's been a process of continually like, wait, what would I like to choose here?
Mm,
And like, oh, well, I actually do have the money. Oh, I can take a car. It's like these small things in your life that you don't really even realize the points of views that you're like actually functioning from.
great.
And what does that say, and how that creates your life is and starting to unravel those and change those is what like really is what I do with the Wealth Creators classes and all the access classes.
Beautiful. So Wealth Creators Anonymous, where do we find that? Connect.
So you can find it, like if you want to find me, the easiest way is andrewgardella.com or accessconsciousness.com/Andrew Gardella. And then you can, or if you just want to find out about all the access classes, you can just go to accessconsciousness.com.
Beautiful. If you have any challenges in your business and you want some business advice and help, we're here to do a customized blueprint to help you overcome your biggest business challenge. Send an email right now to Terri, Terri, at Terri Levine, Levine, and we will tell you how to get your customized business blueprint. We are truly here to help you. Well, I'm going to ask you a strange question because I'm trying to figure this all out. So since you were young, you did the flea markets and it generated
Yes.
income. How does that parallel with access consciousness work? I make that connection for me, please.
Well, like the access consciousness work in the classes are just a set of tools and processes to change anything in your life that's not working for you. So it's all of it is based on the idea that if we can ask you a question that empowers you to know well, and if we give you an answer that actually disempowers you, because it's not about what you know or what would be fun for you. It's just what worked for me. Like what worked for me was buying, like, and that was one of the lessons my dad gave me when I would buy things at the flea market. He's like, buy what you know and buy what you like. Because at the end of the day, if you like it and you're stuck with it, at least you like it, but so, and that's really what we look at with all the access classes, is empowering the participants to know what they know and know what's going to work for them in their life. Because what might work for me is different. And so like the tools, they're just something that I would use in buying and selling things. That they're like an additive to that. It doesn't necessarily have to be involved. It's just kind of, well, what we like to say is all of access, like all the access stuff is about making stuff work for you. And if you already have stuff working for you, then like one of the questions we give people is, how does it get any better than that? Like you have a great life, you're making money. How does it get any better than that? Like what else can you add? Because oftentimes when we talk about wealth creation, wealth isn't a stopping point. It's a continual reinvestment and creative process. And sometimes I see with people that I work with is they'll hit a certain amount of money or they'll hit a certain point in their life and then they've made it and that's it. But all of a sudden then they're like, wait, but my life's not working as well as it used to. And I'm like, well, what did you just say? You said you made it. You've already decided you've created the plateau with your point of view.
Exactly. So people come to me all the time as a business consultant and they say to me, I really want to have money. I really want to have wealth. And I say to them, you have to make that decision, that choice. I know you feel the same way. Can you give a sentence or two about that?
Well, one of the things that always interests me is like, you have to make the choice to have money and have wealth. And so a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to give this up, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to stop doing this. I'm like, well, no, you have to like, having money is a choice. And you look at all the areas, like I started telling people, one of the things we give people is like, okay, for a month, keep track of all your expenses and all the money that comes in and all the money that goes out, and really look at that. And most people are really surprised with, like, they don't realize where their money is actually going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or how much they're even coming in.
Mm-hmm. I think that's important too. I always tell my client family members, they do this exercise with me for 14 days where they
Mm-hmm.
track everything, whether they spent a couple of bucks on a cup of coffee or whether they got gas or they bought a book on Kindle. And I find it very interesting that we make so many buying decisions without truly being present and conscious. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's, I know for me, it's like, that's like one of the questions that we give people is, okay, if I buy this, will it make me money? For
Ooh,
every purchase you make.
I love that question. If I buy
Because,
this, will it make me money? Yeah.
yeah. And exactly. And we're not saying like, is it going to have a direct line of return on investment?
Mhm.
Because money isn't just, oh, I bought something and now it's worth $2,000 more, so that made me money. Um, but it's actually about something that contributes and enriches your life.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, what about this? People talk a lot about not having money and therefore I don't have everything I want in my life, so I'm not happy. I don't have the joy that I desire because I don't have money. How would you respond to that statement?
Well, I think the funny thing is, are like, okay, you have $1 million. Are you going to be happy then? Like, it's like people that hit the lottery. Most of them are in the same place they were like 5 years later, or like some amount of time later, they're back where they started or in a worse off position. So did they actually my question would be, did they actually make any different choices? Like, they got this surplus of money, but in their life, did they actually change their life with it? Did they start making different choices? Because like you said, people aren't really conscious or present with how they're spending their money. And that's where I would look at saying, okay, well, you say you're not happy, then let's look at, if that's what you'd like to create, you'd like to be happy. Well, what choices can you make today to be happy?
Oh, that's great. What choices can you make today to be happy? And I
Yeah.
think sometimes people that I talk to, whether I'm consulting or whether just meeting people or family or friends, they seem to think money per se is going to solve every problem in their life. Can you speak to
Mhm.
that? I'm sure you can.
Yeah. So one of the, if we're talking about point of view creates your reality, once you decide something's a problem, then it's always going to be a problem.
Mm,
So it's, and then you're looking at money as the solution. Well, anytime you make a person or something a solution, then you basically, like, like if someone made you a solution in your life, how would that feel? It's not a great thing to have. So if you did that to money, what does that look like? Well, all of a sudden you're seeking this thing that isn't going to solve the problem in the first place. So you're buying a lie. And then even if you got it, it's not going to actually change it because you didn't make a different choice. You're looking for an external thing to solve an internal problem or issue.
perfect. Is your business struggling? You want more leads, you want to convert leads more easily, you want more revenues, more profits. Whatever your biggest business challenges, we're here to help you. We have a proprietary proven process that's guaranteed here at Heartrepreneur to help you increase your revenues and profits. And we have the ability to help you overcome your biggest business challenge. Simply send us an email to Terri, Terri, at Terri Levine, Levine.com, and we will show you how we can help you overcome your biggest business problem by doing a customized blueprint just for you. Whatever your problem or challenge is, stop struggling, stop the frustration. Let us help you so that you can have more money, more freedom, and more free time in your business. Do it now. Send the email now. Who is an ideal client or someone that you help? And second part of the question, can you give us perhaps an example from one of the clients that you've helped?
An ideal client? I think an ideal client is anyone that's looking to change in their life. I know I work a lot with bodies too. That's another area of mine. So if you're looking to change their body or the, money and everything like that. So yeah, I don't think it's an age range or amount of money or anything. I think it's their willingness to change is the ideal.
And then can you give us an example of maybe someone you have helped and how they have transformed?
Yeah, I think, so a lady, I do a lot of bodywork sessions as I'm a chiropractor. And one lady, she had the tool of, okay, if I choose this, will it make me money? And the other thing we talk about is asking your body. You want to ask your body because it has an intelligence and an awareness of what it requires and what it desires. And so she asked her body, okay, if I get this session, will it make me money? And she got a yes. And then I worked on her because she had, some physical body things. And then the next day she got a contract for €5,000 that she just came out of nowhere, and I think this is more of the way that we can actually be in our lives with money and with wealth and with creation is when you ask questions, it can, the universe can contribute to you in weird and wacky ways that you don't expect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that really interesting. I learned to ask really good questions. I certainly think access consciousness, I have several clients that have studied it and they ask truly some of the best questions ever. And if anyone is coaching or helping people on any kind of a counseling service, massage therapist, chiropractor, whatever it might be, these questions are super important. And I remember this particular client, we were chatting and she gave me a couple of questions one day and I was trying to lose some weight. I tried all these programs, nothing fit. And I said, okay, I'm going to ask my body what it wants versus reading more nutrition books. And literally I just started following a pattern that my body said would work for me. And the weight shed like that, it's staying off. And I really find that I have more energy, more health. And it's so interesting to me, all these years, I never tuned in and thought, well, ask your own body instead of looking for outside sources. Why is it that we always turn to other people for the solution? Like we want money to be the solution or a book or something to be the solution instead of ourselves?
Well, I think this part of it is like just a cultural thing, where we're not taught from a young age of like, okay, what would you like to choose? Like when you were a child, did anyone else ask you, okay, what would your body like to eat today? Or, oh, what would your body like to wear? Or, we're asked like, or even if people ask you like, okay, what would you like to be and grow up? Are they really asking you, or do they already have kind of a thing of like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. Or, oh, you shouldn't be this. Like, why would you want to be that? That's not going to make any money, and those are the kind of things that we have like in our heads and in our world, even if they're like on an unconscious level, that is one of the areas where we start to pick apart and work like with the clients, because they have these beliefs and they don't even realize it sometimes.
Yeah. So I think one of the words that comes to me as you're talking, two words actually, to become more aware and to become more alert. Do those words make sense to you?
Yeah, I would even say, like if you just talked about, like you were saying, present, like when you can be present with what's going on for you and aware and like alert of when you, like you said, like, oh, I'm being triggered right now, or oh, I'm like reacting rather than actually having an active choice.
Mm.
Um,
Mm. So, once again, I want to make sure that our listeners and our viewers know how to connect with you. So, tell them about Wealth Creators Anonymous and tell them again about Access Consciousness, if you would.
yes. So accessconsciousness.com, you can go right there. That's like the easiest way to get to anything. If you want to find out about me personally, andrewgardella.com. I also have some money blogs and stuff like that. And obviously I'm on the Access site too. And on the Access site, like I said, there's a bunch of specialties. So you can find out about like the Wealth Creators programs. It's under, on the Access site, it's going to be under specialty topics and programs.
Great. And I have
So,
to tell folks to follow you on social media. I've been getting prepped for our interview and I've been following you, and you are truly a wealth of information. I mean, you have many, many degrees. You have a lot of skill, and I find you to be what we actually call entrepreneurs, someone who is of service, someone who is making a difference for others in so many ways. Why is this important to you? Why is helping others create more wealth and accessing their own consciousness, why is that important to you?
well, I think part of it is selfish in a way, because I see people change and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't like, and it contributes so much to me and I get so much out of it. And I think, that's just like how I'm wired in a way. Like I've always been interested in helping others, and it's part of my curiosity, I think, too, because I'm always interested in like how people work and what makes them tick, and I think that kind of goes with my choice of profession, if you will, in a way.
I think
Um,
being open and curious is really important instead of thinking we know everything, we have all the answers. I think the more open and the more curious we are, the more we learn, we grow, we develop, we transform. Yes?
yeah, totally.
Beautiful,
And,
beautiful.
and I
Now,
think
go ahead.
no, I was just going to say it's like when they open to a different possibility, you can change or you make a different choice.
Mm. We've talked a lot about something, and I want to just go back to it. The word choice has been, here since the very beginning of this conversation. What would you say to people who show up and say, I'm stuck in this marriage. I've tried to, lose weight. I can't. I've had this illness forever. My parents were poor. I know I'm going to be poor, and have what I call the stuck mentality. Any thoughts around that?
Mhm. Well, yeah, I would ask. So, like, one of the things we talk about is you can only be stuck in something if you're buying a lie. So, one of the things I look at is like, okay, so what lie are you buying here that's keeping you stuck? Is
Mm,
it true that you can't leave your marriage?
mm, mm.
But people are like, oh, I can't. There's one story that I really love. The founder of Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas, was working with a lady, and she was um, she was in a marriage, and she'd been married for 30 years or something, and she was like in her 60s, I believe. And she's like wanted to leave her husband. Gary's like, okay, so why won't you leave your husband? And she's like, oh, my mother would never approve. And Gary's like, how old's your husband? And the lady's like, oh, she's dead.
And the mom.
So it's like the mom's dead, but she's still evaluating her life from this other person's point of view.
Mm,
And I think we do that in all areas of our life. So it's like with money or anything else, like the person's stuck. Well, whose reality and like are you stuck in? Is it like actually the life you'd like to have, or is that someone else's?
that is so important. It is interesting as you were saying that. I was thinking I had a choice to make in business a couple of months ago, and
Hmm.
I wasn't seeing all possibilities. I was very narrowly seeing a response. And I began to I journal a lot. I began to do some journaling, and I said, oh my gosh, I'm like hearing my father's voice as to why I should choose what I'm choosing.
Hmm.
And I was amazed. I became much more conscious and aware of like how I was programmed, and then made a different choice and said, well, I'm an adult. I can make my own decisions. Why is that we kind of get stuck in that loop?
I I don't know if it's a why. I think it's just that we do. And I think, as children, we look up to our parents in a way, and there's so many things around, like there's so many points of views around, okay, your parents know best. And like, obviously they wouldn't give you bad information, right? Or, and again, this is where questions can become so powerful, because if we can ask children questions about what it is that would work for them, then they can start creating a life that actually works for them, rather than something that is tied to the parents' points of views and how they're brought up and how they're raised. Rather, because that was one of the things I looked at. I became aware of, like, okay, look, I don't desire to perpetrate like my family's, like how they were raised on anyone else, and I don't actually desire to perpetrate it on me anymore. I'd like to have a different kind of mindset and outlook on life, and actually look at, okay, if everything was possible, what would I actually like to choose? Not saying, you have to have the most money in the world, or like what's actually going to work for me.
I love that. And what's very interesting that you just said is, whether we have kids or we have grandkids, the way we behave, the way we act definitely rubs off on them, so to speak.
Mhm.
So if you're someone who is more conscious, more aware, more alert, you're making choices, you understand what access consciousness really provides, and you start to ask different questions and you start to change your point of view, you're actually modeling this for your kids and grandkids, right?
Yeah, and I think that's, what one of the things I like to talk about is, like, with Wealth Creators Anonymous, we look at wealth and we always just consider it money, but actually it's about the wealth of possibilities that you can have in your life. And also, like, the wealth that you can actually contribute to the world when you're actually, like you said, being a entrepreneur. It's like when you're actually coming from this space of what works for you, and the possibilities are possible, and invite us to have more, and choose more. um, it's so funny how many times I go to these classes, and even the classes I'm not in, just other access classes, and people follow me and they see I travel all over the world, and they're like, it's such a thrill to see you, because I knew you 5 years ago, and like you made a different choice. And it's like you making that choice, like I saw you did it, and I was like, wait, I can do it if he can do it. And I think that's that's such an aspect of wealth that we always kind of like forget about, because we're like, no, it's about the money. And really, wealth has very little to do with money.
That's a key point. I really want people to take away from our conversation, wealth, that word has very little to do
Mhm.
with money. Like, I feel great wealth in my life, and I'm not talking about financial wealth. I'm talking about
Mhm.
relationships, love, health, knowing my body, feeling positive, waking up happy. I mean, I could go on. And that really is Heartrepreneur. Andrew, it has been a delight to be with you. My goodness. So we want to go to Wealth Creators Anonymous. We want to go to Access Consciousness. Follow Andrew all over social media. Andrew, thank you so much for being here today. You created so much value here for me, as well as the listeners and viewers. So it's been a pleasure being with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a delight. And for our viewers, for our listeners, a couple of really good things for you. First of all, we have an educational webinar that we put together just for you. It's not a sales pitch like other people's webinars. It's truly to help you grow your business. And it's the 7 deviations that you need to know to actually make the kind of money that I've made, that my client family members have made, and to transform your business. You can find that at TL, like Terri Levine, tlwebinar.com. Secondly, we just added all new resources at our website, which is heartrepreneur.com. Lots of freebies, lots more value, because we are truly here to help you. And finally, we invite you, as well as Andrew, to join our Facebook group where we do business together, where we lift each other up, inspire each other, and we create more heartrepreneurs and more wealth, like we talked about today, at a higher consciousness level. And you can find that group on Facebook. It's called Heartrepreneurs with Terri Levine. So again, we want to thank you for tuning in. We encourage you to share the show, come back next time. And again, tune in here at Heartrepreneur Radio and Heartrepreneur TV. Bye now.
You've been listening to Heartrepreneur Radio, maximizing your personal and business results by leading with your heart with your host, Terri Levine. This show is produced every week for your enjoyment and education. To make sure you never miss a single show, add us to your favorite RSS feed or subscribe in iTunes. You can also read Terri's latest blog posts at www.heartrepreneur.com/blog or follow Terri on Twitter at MentorTerri and on Facebook.com/Heartrepreneur Terri Levine. Your questions and comments are always welcome and appreciated. Send them to Terri on either Facebook or Twitter. Thank you for listening.